because I do want to move on to this other interview that she did with this podcast called the Call Her Daddy. I can't even say it without laughing. Call Her Daddy podcast. And I don't I think this article pretty much sums it up, but we will look at a couple of clips from it. It says, what a joke. Kamala Harris avoids substantive interviews in favor of a podcast known for sex revelations. So it says, Kamala Harris's team has realized that brat vibes and coconut emojis alone will not carry her over the finish line in November. After avoiding interviews has become a cornerstone of her campaign, she is finally scheduled to make her rounds. To speak not with a teleprompter, but a real human. To talk about substantive issues. She'll be tested on her nearly 4 years in the Biden White House, her record on the border, and how she plans to bring down the cost of living. I'm kidding. Harris is gearing up for a softball tour, visiting the right-hating ladies of The View, Stephen Dancing Vaccine Needle Colbert, and Howard Stern, all people ready to throw her a parade because she's not the bad orange man. On Sunday, she was on Alex Cooper's Call Her Daddy podcast, which is a place for celebrities to talk about copulation in such a tawdry way that it would make Samantha Jones blush. I don't know who Samantha Jones is, but they go into some of the things that recently have been discussed with Katy Perry. I don't even want to repeat the things that Katy Perry said, but you get an idea of what this podcast is about. And I think by going on this interview, it demonstrates to me that Kamala Harris thinks that women in America are stupid. And unfortunately, because she has some level of support and she seems to have a lot of support from women, this appears to be true in far too many cases. But she especially seems to think women are particularly intelligent because she went on this podcast that is dedicated to raunchy topics and having young women openly share the most sexually degrading things that they have done behind closed doors. And it's hosted by this woman named Alex Cooper. And apparently this podcast, unfortunately, is extremely unpopular, which to me demonstrates a whole other issue on its own. But can we at least acknowledge that it's extremely inappropriate for someone who is running for the office of the President of the United States to go on something like this? Like, is nothing sacred anymore? Because according to Kamala, the answer is no. And this shows us that there's nothing that she won't do, which we probably all knew already. But her stated goal, I guess, was to go on and talk about things that really matter to people. But what I also think was behind her thought process behind going on this was that this is an audience that encourages particularly young women to be promiscuous. And therefore, the only thing these women are going to care about is abortion. And she knows she doesn't have to go on here and say anything substantive or deep because she doesn't feel like this audience is going to care. So let's have a look at this first clip. This just kind of sets the stage for the conversation and at least what these two rocket scientists are hoping to achieve with this conversation.
I'm curious, like, you don't do too many long form interviews. What made you want to do Call Her Daddy today?
Well, I think you and your listeners have really got this thing right, which is one of the best ways to communicate with people is to be real. And to talk about the things that people really care about. I mean, what I love about what you do is that your voice in your show is really about your listeners. And I think especially now, this is a moment in the country and in life where people really want to know they're seen and heard and that they're part of a community, that they're not out there alone. And so I'm really glad to be with you.
As far as being seen and heard, I can't help but think of the Hurricane Helene victims who are begging for help, and this woman is currently actively ignoring them. And not to mention, Kamala Harris has not seen or heard anyone who has said that they are struggling in the last few years. The countless people, again, that have come out and said that they can't afford groceries. She has nothing to say about that. People that are being, their communities are being taken over by gangs. She has nothing to say about that unless you post a cat meme, and then that apparently outrages her more than anything else. We've got this homelessness issue. She has nothing to say about that. And when she's asked, how are you going to fix the economy? Let's just blame Trump. And how are you going to fix the border? Let's just blame Trump. Like, this woman has a long history of abandoning her responsibilities, probably more than anybody else in modern history besides Biden. I don't know. It's a tough call. But this woman, she's ignored people that are in need of help. She has repeatedly just abandoned her duties. And I think this just is the opposite of what women stand for. We are known as the caregivers. We are known for addressing the needs of society. We are known for coming to people's aid. And what she represents and what she has done is the opposite of that. Sorry, this cat is irritating me. And I keep laughing at some of your guys' comments because you're all having exactly the same thoughts that I am. But naturally, as I said, a large portion of this conversation has revolved around abortion, because this is what women have been reduced to in the Democrat Party. As much as they like to talk about progress and being for women's rights and respecting women, the only thing that they care about when it comes to women is abortion. And the only thing that they're ever going to talk to women about is abortion. And unfortunately, too many women in this country have let themselves be reduced to this mindset that being able to kill unborn babies is the only thing that we can talk about. And if you pull at our heartstrings and make an unplanned pregnancy the most terrifying thing imaginable, then it makes women not even want to hear about anything else and this is what the Democrats do to get women to secure their vote to this party. But what's even worse than that is the level of lying that this woman puts out there about this issue that she claims to be a proud supporter of. So I have another clip here. Sorry. I apologize in advance. I've got this cat here and she might step on the keyboard or do something crazy. So I'm trying to keep her out of my way. But this is the clip where Kamala Harris is asked about this particular exchange between herself and Donald Trump during the debate. And she continues to lie about the abortion policies that are in place in several states and a lot of the things that she herself supports. Let's have a look.
I do want to clarify something. In the debate, former President Trump claimed that some states are executing babies after birth. Can you just clarify?
That is not happening anywhere in the United States. It is not happening, and it's a lie. It's a bold-faced lie that he is suggesting that. Can you imagine? He is suggesting that women in their 9th month of pregnancy are electing to have an abortion. Are you kidding? That is so outrageously inaccurate, and it's so insulting to suggest that would be happening and that women would be doing that. It's
okay. Listen, Kamala Harris and all of these liberal women are proud of abortion. They're proud of how many they've had. They're proud of the fact that they can get them at any time for any reason. And they're proud of the fact that they have managed to keep restrictions at bay in so many areas for so long. And they are proud when a state has no limits on abortion, because to them, that is the ultimate sign of liberation and female empowerment. So it is absolutely baffling to me that when someone accurately points out that there are several states in this country that allow abortion up until the moment of birth, Tim Walz's Minnesota is one of them, that they then come out and say that that person is a liar and pretend that they would never allow a woman to make that choice with her body, and that it's a vile thought that anyone would even suggest such a thing. It's like in that moment, they switch to being pro-life. But my question is, if you don't think that late-term abortion should be allowed, why do these people say no every single time someone asks to put a law into place that says that you can't have an abortion in the 3rd trimester? Like, it wouldn't impact a woman's right if they put that law into place if you say that it is something that is not actually happening. This is such a mind game, and it's absolutely ridiculous. But Kamala Harris also has an extremely long record of being known as one of the most extreme senators in history when it comes to the subject of abortion. And then there's Tim Walz, who signed a law in his own state that repealed the protections against protections for babies born alive from failed abortions, and signed another law that said that the state is no longer required to report these things when they happen. So we know that they were happening, because I believe the statistic, there's about 24 to 25 babies between 2015 and 2023, or whenever it was that he signed this thing into law and removed the requirement to report it. So who knows how many times it's happened since then. But this is something that happened, that has happened. So what I find so insulting is that she's saying that women are too stupid to see right through this, and that we don't care if she's lying. And the only reason that she keeps saying things like this is because she's manipulating the female population, because she knows she can, and she knows exactly what to say to continue to hold on to the female vote for the Democrat Party. That's all that this is. This isn't about healthcare. This isn't about rights. They have used this issue for decades to make women declare their unwavering allegiance to the Democrat Party by fear-mongering on this issue and falsely drilling into women that if they don't vote for the left, then their lives and their rights are over. And it has worked, because find me one liberal woman that says any other issue matters to her besides this. I mean, that's how you know these manipulation tactics have worked so well. And as far as I'm concerned, Kamala Harris is like the last woman on earth that any self-respecting women should look up to for anything.